Hey guys, it's Cam for 15 back on Cam for 15 Talk Sports, and I'm joined by my Uncle Darrell, and we're here to talk Chicago Bears football with the Chicago Bears pulling off the upset in the rain against the San Francisco 49ers.
Well, we predicted they would win the game, so I don't necessarily know if it's an upset.
Well,
I
for
didn't, I didn't see anything that tells me, although the announcers were basically crowning the San Francisco Niners as Super Bowl participants, but I didn't see that.
yeah. Listen, that was one hell of a game by the Bears, one good game by the Bears. You know, even though the first half wasn't the best, you did see some bright spots, and then all of a sudden, the second half, they just opened it up. They just
They
put,
adjusted. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Uh, they adjusted. I'll say this: the Bears have a coaching staff. I mean, they got a coaching staff. They have a really good defensive coordinator, Luke Getzey. Although he his play was his pours in the first half, he pretty much threw that playbook and opened up a new playbook that was to Justin Fields' strength, and we did well.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, that was good. Obviously, it was a battle of first round draft picks. Obviously, the statistics wise, there wasn't a lot of passing because of the rainy weather, which especially on that last 49ers drive to try to at least get a touchdown, it definitely played a huge factor in the Bears pulling this out. Which was one of the theme reasons why I did choose the Bears in this game with this rain factor. And then also the Trey Lance thing. Him having his first starting game. Well, I know he started last year, but it was
Yeah,
like this was
he already had two starts under his belt, so it wasn't like
yeah,
yeah, this should have been foreign to him. You
yeah,
know,
it yeah. I will say losing a Elijah Mitchell and then obviously losing they're tied the tight end George
George
Kittle,
Kittle.
that it definitely played an aspect or a factor in the reason why the 49ers lost the game. But still, at the end of the day, you look at the 49ers perspective, they pretty much killed themselves with very bad penalties. They hit Justin Fields, which we'll take as Bears fans, like two, three times until they finally stopped hitting him. They had
Yeah,
they had like hands to the face penalty. No, not hands to the face. They had a very bad holding penalty that on the Bears touchdown drive that pretty much sealed the deal for the game. They had a very bad holding penalty. A lot of stuff. And the one thing I was taken aback was the Bears were so disciplined. It's funny enough because when I was watching the game, I was like, oh, the Bears haven't committed a penalty. And then you had the stupid Trenton Gill penalty, which I've never heard of before. The towel wasn't even in the way of nobody, so I don't know why they called.
nah. They actually went back and showed. Yeah, he wiped the ground up
Yeah,
with the towel,
yeah, I saw
and
that.
he wiped the ground up with the towel. Now, how the towel managed to stay on the field, the referee did see it. I think he saw the towel, and I don't know if he saw the actual act of him wiping the ground up. Someone must have told him, but the towel was still there, you know. So um, it was a penalty, you know. Um, I wouldn't necessarily say that was indicative of, you know, little discipline. I mean, it just he tried something and it didn't work.
Yep.
But what I will say is, again, we got us a coaching staff. The Bears, for the most part, the one thing that stood out to me was the Bears didn't shoot themselves in the foot this entire game. They did not shoot themselves in the foot. They remained calm. They didn't get flustered. But granted, the first half was horrible for them. The weather conditions were horrible, but they managed to go into the locker room, regroup, refit, retool, just to retaliate, and they did. San Francisco went up 10-0, and after that, 19 straight points. I mean, you saw Coach Eberflus's, and when he was first hired, one of the first things that they talked about was his leadership. what he plans to bring to the Chicago Bears, his leadership, discipline, making sure that you're not kicking yourselves in the head and things of that nature. And all of that stood out today. The weather was against them. Um, the play calling was against them in the first half, so they didn't get flustered. They came back and they won the game.
Yep. I guess we'll talk about the phases. Special teams. I want to get that out of the way first. Other than the Cairo Santos missed extra points, fine. And then
I
and then
chalked it up as just a wet field.
yeah,
That's how I chalked it up. He tried to over on one the first kick, the first extra point he missed, wide right,
yeah,
and then the next one it was wide left. So I think he was just trying to adjust based on his footing and things of that nature. I'm not going to get into the whole, we don't have a kicker,
yeah,
anything like that. I just chalked it up. It was just the conditions were that horrible, whereas he couldn't get his footing for either kick.
yeah. I'm just saying, I just hope and pray that this doesn't start a string of him missing field goals. That's the only
Correct.
thing that I'm kind of like, all right, that's two in a row you missed. Let's not go
Correct.
into the Green Bay game, start missing random field goals. And what seems,
Correct.
which I already checked the weather for next Sunday night, it's going to be pretty much fair weather. So,
Correct. So
that's
I wouldn't. I'm not gonna put too much into it. Again, I'm gonna just go ahead and with the wet field. However, I will say that these missed kicks can affect someone mentally to the point whereas yeah, it does affect how they kick. Now I'm hoping that Eberflus gets in his ear and talks about the conditions. And Santos is a pretty experienced kicker. He's been around for years. I'm not gonna say he's an age veteran, but he's been around long enough to know that hey, it was a wet field, man. I haven't seen rain like this in Chicago in years.
yeah.
And it was, yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, you like even at the end of the game, even in pregame, there were like pretty much the way the field was looking at the end of the game. That's how
Yep.
pregame was looking at. They had to actually shovel the water off the field because it was making
Right.
puddles.
Right. It wasn't draining from what I understand how they have the field. And I could be wrong, but my understanding is they have some type of drain pipes under the sod so that if there is inclement weather, it would drip right through. Where unfortunately it was just so much water that it wasn't going right through the field and it wasn't draining from underneath. So it was just that bad.
Yeah,
So you're gonna probably have a lot of people that are gonna be saying, "Hey, I can't wait for Arlington. Wait till we're in the new place. What was it? Arlington Heights, Arlington Park,
Arlington Heights. Yeah,
Arlington Heights." So uh, but the field held up. The
yeah.
field held up. I mean, you didn't have patches of grass, popping up out of the field when players land. For most part, it was highly slippery, but all intents and purposes, the field did hold up.
Yeah, and you can thank Matt Eberflus for pretty much changing it from what they had originally to the Bermuda grass.
Yeah, the Kentucky bluegrass.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So, yeah, I was about to say that. I was about to say like, yeah, this is the reason why they're gonna have a dome stadium because Bear fans do not want to sit in the rain. Even though I guess the city can say, well, for this game, you think can thank the weather for aiding you. But I'm like, at this point, I could care less.
I'm not gonna say that because when the Bears, I mean, it was pretty dry. I
Yeah,
wouldn't say dry. That's the wrong terminology. It wasn't raining as hard when we went on that 19-0 run.
yeah.
It was like I mean, you remember how well, I don't know if you remember. You wasn't born at the time. When we won the Super Bowl was back in the NFC Championship game. I mean, it was cold, yeah. But then again, the snow started coming down once we were, up 21-0 or something like that. So that's the way I see it here. Once we went up 19-10, the rains just started pouring to the point whereas we were just like, okay, yeah, it's over. There's no way San Francisco can actually come back with the way it's raining. So I just I'll just chalk it up as God wanted us to win.
Yep. And a good thing that we scored before the rain started getting heavy. Otherwise, then we would have been
That's
having
correct.
problems.
Yeah, I think we would have been into it too, but it was not raining as hard on our 19-0 run. So I think what really happened was that, yeah, he had a series of 15 to 20 plays for the first half. They didn't work. Second half, he opened up the playbook, did a little bit more play action, runs up the middle, and put Fields on the run. And that first touchdown to Dante Pettis, I mean, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Linebacker and cornerback follow Montgomery up the middle when Fields rolled left, leaving Pettis all wide open by himself. And then after that, man, the bottom just fell off for San Francisco. It seemed like they had something in tow with play action. They saw something. I must say it was probably the linebackers. Um, they kept dipping in to shut down the A gaps in the middle. So
Yeah.
I say it was really good play call in the second half by Getzy, really good coaching on the defensive end by Allen Williams, and really good leadership overall for Coach Eberflus. Great team win.
Yeah. What do you want to start off first? Defense or offense?
Oh man, and defense. The defense was good throughout the entire four. The defense was good throughout the entire four quarters. The only time I really got pissed off was when Vildor in the first quarter. And I know you saw it. He
Yeah,
was
I
in
saw it.
man
I
coverage.
saw it. Yep.
He was in man coverage, and it was Brandon Ayuk, and he just did a simple little slant across the middle. Now, granted, the field was wet. We'll give him well, but he shouldn't have never been that wide open.
Yeah.
And that's probably the only time I honestly was really upset at the Bears secondary.
Yeah. The my three, yeah, that was one for me. Another one was that Kyler Gordon. He should have just stayed on the deep man when they completed that deep play action pass.
Yeah,
That was on the
yeah.
drive when they kicked the field goal.
Let's see, it
Uh,
was a play action. He dipped in. I'm
yeah,
assuming he dipped in to stop the run, but when he realized it was a pass, he tried to come back and recover, but it was just too late.
yeah.
Rookie mistake. I'll chalk it up to that.
And then the one thing is on that Debo Samuel run for the TD. I didn't like, and I loved how the broadcast was pretty much broke it down that Eddie Jackson, you got to be the guy to make the tackle.
Well,
And
and I think I was about to text you this, and I might have. When the play first got started, Eddie Jackson was practically he was at the
he was in the
deepest
end
part of
zone.
the end zone. I would have preferred he come right up
Come
on the
up.
line. You can clearly see it was going to be an inside zone
Yep.
to Debo, and he had no one to stop him because the slot receiver was further on the side with the number one. So I mean, I was wondering why in the hell is Jackson so far back when it's clear exactly when it's clear what they were doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was clear they were giving the ball on to Samuel, and yeah, he got a touchdown out of it.
Yeah. I play DB. You're always taught don't even be in the end zone because if you're and you're in the end zone in the goal line, you're already taking out the play. And then obviously he
Exactly.
got trucked, so he didn't want to make. And that's the thing with Eddie Jackson. I like the fact that he got a pick later in the game, but I still didn't like the fact that he didn't want to come up make a like legit hit because he was the guy that took the hit from Debo Samuel. He got smacked,
He
but
got smacked,
he
but that was in the first
yeah.
half. In the second half, Eddie Jackson became that 2018 cat that went to the Pro Bowl. I'm gonna say that. I mean, he played fantastic football.
Yeah.
We got to give him credit. He played fantastic football. He
Yeah.
was pretty much disruptive for a good portion, especially in the fourth quarter. And yes, he did make the one play that pretty much sealed the deal for the Bears, that interception.
Yeah, and there was two turnovers by the Bears early in the game when the 49ers were
Mhm.
driving. You had Jalen Johnson wearing number 33. He did the peanut punch. Jaquan Brisker
Yep.
recovered it. That was actually huge because they were driving. They looked like they were going to score a touchdown.
That was right after that slant that we were talking about that Vildor gave up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, the defense for me played very well. I'm not gonna say lights out, but
Yeah.
they got the potential if if those defensive tackles control those A gaps. They couldn't control that A gap throughout the entire game. They kept running up the middle. Wilson running up the middle. Lance running up the middle. before he got hurt.
Oh
Mitchell
yeah, that's the other defensive play I hated. That 3rd and 13
and
quarterback
13,
draw.
right up the middle,
Yeah.
right up the middle. The defensive tackles could not control those A gaps throughout the entire game, and it was really driving me bonkers.
I will say I thought the interior defensive line did get better because later in the second half they did get pressure. They started to get pressure, and I guess my honorary defensive lineman that I want to make a mention of, it's Robinson.
Yep,
He balled out. He's a raw prospect, but he balled out.
he is going to be a stud. He is going to be a stud. And I got to admit, we can get to the quarterback. We can get to the quarterback. The only thing is going to, for me, is that we have to control the middle. We have to control the middle of that line. Because, I mean, right now, Jones and Blackson, they're not, terribly big guys,
Yeah.
you so, I mean, they look more like defensive ends, if anything, than defensive tackles. So, I mean, we got to make sure that we get some guys or get some penetration right up the middle to keep those guys from running right down our throats the way San Francisco did.
Yeah. But other than that, the defense I thought played fairly well. We actually limited the big plays that
Yep.
San Francisco pretty much did last year.
Yep.
Like for example, they did that Debo Samuel little wide receiver screen trying on the one drive before they ended up throwing the pick. They tried to do that again because that was a callback to last year because last year they did that and they pretty much got it, for a touchdown. But because
Right.
this team is well coached up, they know to wrap up, make a tackle, just grab something and hold on, and that's what the Bears managed to do. Jaquan Brisker, I thought he played good. He made one really good tackle where he came in at the goal line and he held down one of the 49ers, legs. Made a tackle. Roquan
Yep.
Smith, he was this close from getting another pick in the game, but I thought he played fine.
Yep.
It is what it is. But overall, I thought the defense had a fairly good outing. They pretty much kept the Bears in the game for the majority of the
They did.
point with the bad offense that was being played
They
in the
did.
first half. But they did their job. Hopefully, like I said, it continues on and we're not getting dropped by like 30 points in Green Bay
Correct.
next week, but there's no guarantees. But with the way I'm watching this Green Bay game, you had freaking Christian Watson drop a wide open pass that
Yeah.
was going to be for a touchdown.
Well, for me, the defense is what won this game for us. Um, Justin Fields did make a mistake, and I've been saying this for years on end. There's three elements to winning football: run the ball, stop the run, back making any mistakes. Well, we were able to run the ball when Khalil Bear was in the game. We did stop the run. I mean, they did get some, you know, hoop de doo, college plays on the outside, and Mitchell was able to move the football via the run a little bit, but that was in the half. And Justin Fields, he made that stupid pass
Yeah,
right there in
we'll
the
get to
first
that. We'll get
quarter.
to that.
Yeah. But other than that, he didn't make any crucial mistakes that really killed the Bears. So all in all, um, since we're talking about the defense was the key element for me as far as the reason why the Bears won this game.
Yeah. So it was good. I thought they did a good job on Trey Lance. There was parts in that
Yep.
game, or really that last drive, that last true drive, the San Francisco tried to make it a game again. You could see within Trey Lance's eyes, he was a little bit scared. The noise clearly got to him from the
Yeah.
fans. The
Yeah.
pressure was getting to him because you could even see he was starting to hold on to the ball a little bit too long. So props to the Bears defense. They did their job. We'll see if they
Yeah.
can hold their end of the job next week against the Packers. But shifting to the offense, I thought the offense, if I were to grade them this week, I'd give them probably just a regular C.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
first half wise, I don't know what the hell Luke Getsy was. The first half offense, it was a combination. At first, at a little bit of the start of the game, it was Justin Fields holding on to the ball too long, and then he had that very bad pick. But then at some point, in that first half, you're like, okay, this guy's just not play calling really good over here.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
not, he's not helping his quarterback out. And I was like, dude, this is just starting to look like nag. I even made a tweet in the second quarter. I'm like, well, I guess we're gonna be 0-2 coming soon because his offense ain't doing nothing. Um, and then second half comes, and pretty much it takes a broken play for the offense to finally wake up.
Yeah.
That's what that was, a broken play. And I want to give respect to the San Francisco 49ers defense. They did their job. They did the best they could. They just fell asleep a few times on defense. But the one player I was actually shocked on the San Francisco 49ers, I don't know his name, but number 29 for the San Francisco 49ers, that
Yeah,
dude,
the safety. That guy was like Troy Polamalu good, wasn't he?
yeah,
He
he
was
was everywhere.
everywhere. He was everywhere. And it didn't matter where they lined him up. He seemed to exactly be right on the ball at all times.
Yeah.
So but I will say this. I think because of where the Bears played, the 49ers defense got tired.
Yeah.
They got tired because San Francisco was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Maybe they'll go in 5 or 6 plays and then they're done. The defense is right back on the field. Bears, I think they got tired.
Yeah.
Now the touchdown to Pettis. Now, yeah, to me that was more indicative of the San Francisco defense as opposed to the Bears offense. But that's what a good quarterback does. A good quarterback's when the defense makes a mistake, a good quarterback makes them pay for it.
Yeah.
And then Equinemius St. Brown, he was amazing with the block um, on the safety for Pettis to get inside the end zone. And defense then they got another stop and they started. It was a lot of play action, a
Yeah.
lot of play action. So whatever play calls whatever the Bears saw in the 49ers D in the first half, they definitely adjusted for it in the second to put Justin Fields on move. And they didn't, and they realized that late in the second, I'm assuming, because that last drive, I think, was the longest drive of the game at that particular point of about 40 something yards.
Yeah.
So they Justin Fields on the move. And I think that's what they really needed to adjust and come back and for the offense to do a heck of a lot better in the second half.
And maybe you have to admit, even though those runs were getting stuffed, you could clearly tell, like especially on that late set, last the second drive for the Bears on that second quarter, they were biting on that run so bad that Justin Fields fooled them a few times, and
Correct.
you could see how in the second half they were biting so down on the run because they were kind of pretty much having conservative play calling. So I guess you can say to an extent this conservative play calling did help the Bears out this time. You would
Mm-hmm.
be envisioned that more teams like the Packers next week are going to be like, okay, let's make sure we don't freaking, have these coverage bust or breakdown in coverage, play the run, but at the same time, play the pass. And there was only one time, like I saw the 49ers on a play action boot. Justin Fields was rolling out on. They actually kept contained, but Justin Fields evaded that guy, and he still made
Yeah.
something out of nothing.
Yeah. Again, just like I said before, I think they got tired.
Yeah.
I think they got tired. They were not as dominating, especially with the run. I think they exhausted a lot of energy trying to stop the run, especially up the middle.
Yeah.
So give kudos to the offensive line for their efforts because the 49ers were gassed. They were gassed. And then Kinlaw went down a couple of times. 57, forgot his name, 57. I mean, I think he had um, two personal foul penalties for 15 yards.
No, it's
So
51.
they
51.
no 57 had two, and
Okay.
51 had one as well too. They had a total of four
Yeah.
of those type penalties as well, unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, and it really hurt them. And I think 57 was really ticked, but because the offensive line was really digging and leaning on them. So Bosa was not as good in the second half as he was in the first. Braxton Jones, I saw one play, man. It was Larry Borum. Man, it was at 57. He fell on the ground. Larry Bourne just fell right on top of him and didn't move. He didn't move. I mean, the Bears' offensive line was just nasty in that second half.
Yeah.
Flat out nasty. Bourne was good. Jenkins was good. Braxton Jones. Bosa got a sack on him early in the first half, but I think after that, I don't think Bosa came any closer. Came close to the Fields in the I'll say in the fourth quarter, because I think they did sack him early in the third.
Yeah.
So give kudos to the offensive line. My only issue with the offense is the wide receivers. Granted, let's just say wet field, but the offense, the wide receivers, just for me, they just were not good. Mooney couldn't, no one can really get open. No one can actually win their assignments man on man. So to me, that's going to be an ongoing problem. Let's see how they handle it.
Yeah. Offensive line wise for me, I thought I would probably grade them a C plus. They were fine for the most part. Not great, but the one thing I do want to say is I find funny how the national media is making the Bears offensive line out to be like legitimately the worst offensive
The
line
worst in the league, yeah.
in the
Yeah.
league. But I'm over here watching the Bengals game, the Jaguars game, so many other games, and I'm like, good Lord, the offensive line for all these other teams, you could say are equally as bad, but because they got the quarterback and the relevant history, it's nothing bad.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
with the Bears, because they don't have a lot of good names at offensive line, it's just like, these guys are going to be terrible. But the Bears proved here today, for at least a week, they shut the haters up who were doubting them.
They did.
So
They did. Just like I said before, for me, from what I was looking at, especially in that fourth quarter, that Bears offensive line was nasty.
yeah,
They were just flat out nasty. They were mean. They didn't back down. They noticed, in my opinion, the 49ers line was tired. And when they noticed that they were tired, they hit them even harder. So, and they made sure that no matter what Justin Fields did, they weren't going to let him anywhere near him. Now, granted, Justin Fields is a bad boy. Justin Fields is a bad boy. So let's just, take this one, pile it in with the rest, and then come next week, let's see what happens with Green Bay.
yeah. And mind you, for the national media, the Bears offensive line only gave up 2 sacks.
2 sacks.
That's it.
One in the first, one in the third.
Yeah.
Yep.
Running, rushing wise, they definitely didn't get a lot of the middle. Yeah, some of the runs up the middle, mostly by Herbert, broke through, but I felt like they did a better job at running to the outsides because it was just good. There was one part where I just saw, I think it was Byron Pringle. He was blocking like almost a 300-pound defensive lineman for the 49ers. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
come on, offensive line. You got to do a better job than your wide receiver, who probably weighs maybe 200 pounds, and he doing a better
Maybe.
job at blocking. Like, come on.
Maybe.
So,
But well, again, we'll see. I'm pretty sure they'll look at the tape
yeah,
and see exactly what we did bad. Because I mean, after this game, I have a lot of faith in our coaching staff.
yeah,
I mean, I can clearly say that especially when what we have had as a coaching staff over the last 7, 8 years, this staff can coach.
yeah. And then
This staff,
yeah, yeah. Last thing I want to say before we talk about Justin Fields and we'll end the video off is I was really glad that we had no holding penalties or no false starts. That's all. I'm going to leave it at that.
nope.
So yes, and mind
Well,
you,
hold on. It didn't. Wasn't there a false start penalty in the first quarter?
no, then that's on the 49ers.
No. Oh, so I'm sorry. I'm thinking now a little bit. Lord have mercy. That game is still on my mind. I'm sorry. My bad. I
Yeah,
forgot we were talking about the
Bears only had 3 penalties, so that's good.
3 penalties the entire game. What was it? Penalties, 25 yards, something like that.
Yeah.
So, and to me, that's a direct result of Coach Eberflus.
Yep.
So, it was a great game. and you can see that the players trust him. So there wasn't anything that was done. It was stupid, I should say,
Yeah.
bonehead. You know, they stayed strong. They stayed with each other. They fought the elements as well as the 49ers and the national media came out with a W.
Yep. All right, before we get out of here, Justin Fields, since he's pretty much on our evaluation tape, I thought Justin Fields, I thought he played fine. Not great, but I thought he played fine. Outside of the one bad interception and then him holding onto the ball too long, a little bit too early on in that game, I thought he played relatively good. And I thought he definitely outplayed Trey Lance down the stretch compared to
Yeah.
early in the game. That
Yeah.
one interception, he was just keen on Mooney and he didn't see the one safety right there, number 29 again. I don't know what he was throwing to. That was absolutely locked
I
up. And
don't
I,
know what he saw either. I really don't know what he was looking at too, because it was clear as his own defense, and the safety was up in the zone, up in coverage, and
yeah,
uh, we can say the same thing about Trey Lance's interception to Eddie Jackson.
yeah,
He was eyeballing the receiver the entire time. Jackson saw it, came up, picked it off. Same thing with the 49ers safety. He was Fields eyeballing Mooney and
yeah,
got the play. But I would probably give Fields a C.
yeah.
You know, for me, the defense an A, offensive C, coaching A. Well, I'll say B because
B,
that first half with Luke Getsy
yeah,
was pretty frustrating to watch.
yeah,
Um, so I'll say defense A, coaching B, offense C.
yeah,
Special teams push because I mean they didn't hurt us nor helped us.
yeah. Yeah, Justin Fields, other than that, he did his thing. When he had to use his legs, he used his legs. And then,
Yeah,
like I said, the improvisation on that Dante Pettis just rolling out was really good. Again, that's only what like quarterbacks that can run around and extend plays was good. And then I did like, his play action passing to um Equanimous St. Brown. That was a good touchdown pass right then and there. I like the one
yep.
pass to Byron Pringle. And then
That was nice. Yep.
I did appreciate the fact too in this game that he was when everything was pretty much locked up, he was willing to check it down to his running backs, and at least they got some gain of
Yep.
yards. As
Yeah.
opposed to last year, he didn't really go that direction. He would just take a sack.
Correct.
So um overall, I would like him to get to 200 yards, but I say he can. I don't blame him for not getting to 200 yards because like at halftime we only had like 19 yards passed, and I attribute that to the rain. Trust me, my varsity football team, we played in the rain and we could barely get any catches or passes off, and I hated standing in the rain as well. So of course the
When
yards.
you got that helmet on, when you got that helmet on, your vision is impaired
Yeah,
to some degree anyway. Add in certain elements, rain, snow, wind, whatever, then yeah, man, your vision is impaired even greater. So, yeah, the first half, the weather was a big issue. Now, me personally, I'm not um of the thinking that if we had warm weather and it's nice and it's sunny, I still think the Bears would have beat them
yeah,
because for me, defense was just that good. So I don't think that the weather played a part and what the Bears couldn't do in the first half. But once that rolled around, man, we had the Niners number.
yeah. But overall, I thought Justin Fields was good. I hope he, has a better performance going to the Green Bay week. They're still gonna have a fairly stout defense, but right now Minnesota's driving on them right now. So we'll see how they look. We'll see how they look. But yep, that's what we'll be back next week.
Yeah, we'll see.
On Sunday night, or actually, we'll probably have to do that for Monday because there'll be a Sunday night game unless you'll be up at the time.
We'll see.
Okay. Yep. That's fine. That's fine. I can wait a day.
Although I might, But keep in mind it's Green Bay, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna probably be up because it's Green Bay, and I really hate Green Bay.
yeah. So yeah, like I said, final takeaways. I was just glad that the Bears found a way to dig down deep to win a game that, in all honesty, they looked like they were about to lose. But they didn't really have any glaring shots in that second half to that kill themselves. Coaches really executed and pretty much gave good play calls for the players to execute. And that's again something you want to ask for a team that's developing to potentially be at least a consistent playoff team going to next season. But good first one for Matt Eberflus. And hopefully this is a good start to his era, which we hope is a long era for him. But definitely liked what I saw. I'm definitely gonna be enjoyed for next week to happen. But that's just it for my final takeaways.
Uh, I'm good. I just yeah, it's some few things we need to touch up on. But then again, that's football, man. It's a week to week process. It's gonna be a long journey. We'll see what happens. We got a W today, and let's see if we got our most bitter rival next week. See what happens.
Yep. But anyways, guys, if you guys like the video, leave a like. Put in the comment section your thoughts on the Bears' performance against the San Francisco 49ers. I just hope one last thing. Can the national media please stop with this Trey Lance overhyping? My God. I swear, going into this game, this guy had like the most media press of all time. Like this guy's supposed to be like the best quarterback out of his class. And mind you, Trevor
Uh,
Lawrence is still there and Justin Fields is there. And even Mac Jones is
uh,
there.
let's put it to you like this: they re-signed Jimmy Garoppolo for a reason.
Yeah. So hopefully next week the
Just
Trey,
saying.
yeah, hopefully next week the Trey Lance talk just quiets down because you can see he was getting a little bit flustered in this first game. And
Yeah.
mind you, he's gonna be playing much tougher defenses than what the Bears were giving him because
Well, let's hold on from that because that Bears defense was pretty good.
it
They
was
were really
good, but
good.
I think there's better defenses out there.
We'll see. It's only one game in. We don't know what defenses are actually stout and which defenses are good. The 49ers defense came in as the national media was saying how good they are. And man, please.
Yeah, yeah. I got a good point. Week to week basis. We'll see. But anyways, guys, we'll be back next week to talk Chicago Bears. Probably sometime this week. Also for the channel, we'll give our week recaps of the entire NFL slate of games because man, this first few slate of games were really good. So we'll be back probably either the more than likely the Tuesday or Wednesday talking about the first week of the NFL
Yeah,
games and stuff like that.
sounds
But
good to me.
yep. But other than that, we're gonna get out of here. Catch you guys in the next video. Until then, guys, stay safe out there, and also bear down.
All right, later.